A very good evening to faculty members, students, staff members, and alumni who are here for today's session of Symbiosis Golden Jubilee Lecture Series. We have Mr. Amitabh Kant, who will be addressing all of us today. Someone said necessity is the mother of invention. Someone asked, who is the father then? It is creativity and innovation. Mr. Amitabh Kant is known for the creativity and innovation that he brings in all the projects that he takes. At the onset, let me welcome you formally, sir, and thank you for addressing all of us today. This sessions, that is the Symbiosis Golden Jubilee Lecture Series, is a brainchild of Dr. Vidya Erevdekar, who is the Pro-Chancellor of Symbiosis International Deemed University. It is the 50th year, and Madam thought, why don't we do something different? And that's how Symbiosis Golden Jubilee Lecture Series was initiated. We have several stalwarts who are addressing us, that is the students, faculty members, staff members, and even the alumni who are joining us through two platforms. One is the Zoom platform, the other is the YouTube where the live streaming is happening. Without any further ado, I request Dr. Vidya Erevdekar to please give her opening remarks. Over to you, madam.
Thank you, Raman. And the chief guest for this Golden Jubilee lecture series, Shri Amitabh Kantji, the CEO of NITI AAYOG, Dr. S.B. Muzumdar, sir, the Chancellor of Symbiosis International University, Dr. Rajni Gupte, the Vice Chancellor of Symbiosis International University, deans, faculty members, and students who have attended in large numbers. I'm very excited today because Shri Amitabh Kantji is going to address all of you. It's very difficult to get him. I've tried on several occasions to get him to Symbiosis. I think he did visit once, but people like us wish that he visits every year. In fact, once I very jokingly said that we should make you a chair professor of Symbiosis, so you will visit Symbiosis at least once a year. But look at what has happened now. This COVID pandemic has brought in some new innovations. And one such innovation is these kind of webinars or online lecture series where you get stalwarts like Shri Amitabh Kantji. As Raman very rightly said, I think he's the father of innovation, at least for India. I think everything he does, the way he speaks and whatever he's done in the past has had the tag of innovation. For me, whenever I go to Delhi, I always ensure that I visit his office because he's a person that when you meet him, you kind of imbibe the energy and bring in a little bit of his dynamism and energy with you. And therefore, whenever I visited NITI AAYOG and I visited the Planning Commission, the so-called Planning Commission earlier as well, but the way he has changed the face of NITI AAYOG, including the physical infrastructure. He has young people around him, young interns who help him. I think that's what keeps him going. And I'm very glad to inform you that some of our students, our liberal arts students, did also intern in his office. So the kind of energy and dynamism that he brings in, not just in the building of NITI AAYOG, but he actually kind of, it percolates down to all the youngsters who work with him. And that reflects on the numerous policies and initiatives that have been undertaken by NITI AAYOG. One such, of course, in the education scenario was the National Education Policy of 2020 that actually was born in his mind and in the corridors of NITI AAYOG. Sir, you've been someone who has branded India with Incredible India. You've branded Kerala with God's Own Country. And you've done several things, like the Make in India. I love the lion that is there in your office. It speaks volumes of the kind of innovations that you have tried out and percolated down into various policies of the Indian government. So I thought that this would be the best way to invite you so that you get to not just address one class or a group of students, but thousands of these students who are going through a very bad crisis of pandemic, who cannot attend colleges and universities, who are really missing the corridors and the cafeterias in the universities and colleges, but get to listen to stalwarts like you. So Symbiosis, as Raman said, has entered its 50th year. Dr. Muzumdar sir established this in 1971, you very well know. And we thought, what better can we give to our students than lectures and addresses from people like you. So I won't take much time. I welcome you once again for the Symbiosis Golden Jubilee lecture series. And I hope at least virtually you will be able to address our students once in a year. So thank you very much once again, and over to you, Raman.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for those wonderful opening remarks. As rightly told, all our students are lucky that we have today Mr. Amitabh Kant, who is going to address all of them. The next is Dr. S.B. Mujumdar, sir, the person who created Symbiosis, the visionary who thought of international education in the year 1971, where nobody even was thinking about it. He is the person who created this institution and has been leading this institution for towards glory. Year after year, the kind of initiatives that he brings in at this age is mind-boggling. Let me tell you that, because I've been working here, and he's a visionary. And thank you, sir, for joining this session. I would request now Dr. S.B. Mujumdar, sir, who is the Chancellor, to give his opening remarks. Over to you, sir.
Namaste, Amitabh Kant. I'm really excited and delighted to have you to address our students and faculty. Dr. Vidya, Dr. Raji Gupte, Professor Raman, and all my students and faculty who are watching this webinar. Amitabh, we started Symbiosis in 1971, primarily for the welfare of foreign students studying in various colleges and institutions in Pune. At that time, there was no dialogue between foreign and Indian students. And people in Pune really did not welcome foreign students. Why? Because they thought that foreign students, they spend lots of time, they drink, they smoke. And why Dr. Mujumdar should start to foreign international students by Symbiosis for the welfare of international students? But we in Symbiosis thought that foreign students have a great importance and significance for India, because when they will go back to their countries, they will become our unofficial ambassadors. And that is how a small organization was started way back in 1971 when I was professor at Ferguson College. This institution was established in a small room in my house on the campus, and we named it as Symbiosis International Cultural Center. The whole idea was to bring foreign and Indian students together to promote international understanding, brotherhood. And that is how this organization was born in 1971. And I can't believe that this organization, which I on the Ferguson College campus has completed 50 years. We are celebrating Golden Jubilee. And Dr. Vidya thought that why not have Golden Jubilee celebration like this. I'm really happy that you have agreed to address our students. Since Corona has given me a lot of time, for last 5-6 days, I have been listening to your lectures on my laptop. And I'm really happy that we have changed the face of our country in so many ways as Vidya described. My dear students, you are really lucky to have Amitabh Kant today. And please listen to him very carefully. Amitabh is innovator, he is a thinker, a great optimist, and he is going to speak to you on a very interesting topic on making new India. Amitabh, recently, our government has accepted National Education Policy 2020. And there are many good things about this NEP 2020. I happened to read many of your articles in the Indian Express and in other newspapers. Many good things have happened in NEP, but most important among them, I would say, that first thing is they have changed the nomenclature of HRD Ministry to Ministry of Education. It was Rajiv Gandhi who, perhaps to give a corporate look to the education department, he might have changed that name from education to human resource development. But I do believe that education is the right name to be to this particular ministry, because it is the education which really brings out the potential of a young student. Second important thing is, and that is very relevant to all of us, that this NEP has removed the distinction between various types of university having different nomenclatures. State university, private university, affiliating university, unitary university, deemed to be university. I'm really happy that many such good things are happening. Graded autonomy is another wonderful thing. Having said that, and since Amitabh, you are a great innovator, and whenever I listen to you, I sometimes feel that I in India should stand for innovation. And that is what precisely you are doing throughout your tenure. I have one query for you to make. If at all you want to create a new India, to shape a new India, I having spent more than 50 years in higher education, I do feel that new India will be shaped more in classrooms of schools and colleges rather than anywhere else. And therefore, new education policy is going to play a big role in shaping new India, the topic on which you are going to speak. But sometimes I feel that howsoever national education policy good may be, but unless the general governmental system which consists of bureaucrats change their mindset, I'm afraid this policy will not be implemented in letter and spirit. For example, I have noticed very often that the whole bureaucratic system in India is based on distrust and control. It appears that distrust and control appears to be in the DNA of our bureaucracy. And Symbiosis has suffered a lot. Whenever we wanted to start off-campus centers, either in Delhi or in Hyderabad or elsewhere, we poured crores of rupees, and having created a good infrastructure, appointed professors, later on somebody from HRD department comes, maybe committee comes, inspects, and then they say this and these are the various deficiencies. You don't have so many professors, you don't have adequate classrooms. Minor shortcoming. But ultimately they rejected our proposals, having spent crores of rupees. And unfortunately, Amitabh, I had to fight, rather I would say, we had to fight these cases in High Courts and Supreme Court in order to get justice. I hope this new education policy, which is going to shape new India, and on which topic we are going to speak, will not face the same problem. And NITI AAYOG became, because you touch every department of the government, every ministry of the government, I shall be happy if you find some innovative way to remove this distrust and control that strangulates the progress of our education system. With these few words, I once again welcome you on behalf of myself and Symbiosis International University, and as Vinta rightly said, you will be available to our students and faculty many times during this day. Thank you so much, Amitabh, and God bless you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for those opening remarks. As we go ahead, Mr. Amitabh Khan, I think it's a formal procedure for me to introduce you. You need no introduction. Everyone knows you. But kindly allow us to play a 1.5 minute small video, which we have used to tell the world, to tell our alums, to tell our students that here is a session today. It speaks a little about the Symbiosis Golden Jubilee lecture series for about 30 seconds and about 35 seconds about you and the speech today. If you can please allow us, we will play that 1.5 minute video now, sir, which is a brief introduction for you.
Please.
Thank you, sir.
When we at Symbiosis decided to celebrate the 50th year of our inception, we did what we are best at. Our Golden Jubilee series of lectures has stretched the boundaries of multidisciplinarity itself with its range of topics and the most eminent of speakers. Reimagining and Reinventing Post-COVID India, Dr. R.A. Mashalkar. Cinema and Society, Javed Akhtar. Protecting Child Rights in India in Post-COVID-19 Period, Kailash Satyarthi. Turning a Crisis into an Opportunity, Dr. Kiran Majumdar Shaw. Leadership in Times of Crisis, Saurabh Ganguly.
This education policy is concerned, this was the most democratic exercise. Opinions of teachers and related people where stakeholders were taken into account.
The next topic in the series is Building a New India, and who better to talk about it than Shri Amitabh Kant, CEO, NITI AAYOG, the man behind campaigns like Make in India, Startup India, Incredible India, God's Own Country, Atiti Deva Bhava, the author of books like Branding India and Incredible Story, The Path Ahead, Transformative Ideas for India, Incredible India 2.0, Synergies for Growth and Governance. Join us to gaze into the crystal ball on Wednesday, 9 September at 4 p.m.
Well, that was the introduction video which we had circulated, sir. Without any further ado, now I request you to please address our students, faculty members, staff members, and alum. Over to you, sir. Thank you.
The Chancellor of Symbiosis University, Dr. Majumdar, who's a great visionary, a great thinker, a great intellectual, phenomenal institution builder, whom we have all admired for his tenacity and his institution building. Dr. Vaidya, the Vice Chancellor, Rajni Gupta ji, and Mr. Dr. Raman, all the faculty members of Symbiosis, all the students, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me great honor to be speaking at the Symbiosis Golden Jubilee Lecture Series on Building a New India. It's a great honor and a pleasure for me because Symbiosis is a great institution that I've greatly admired. And Dr. Vaidya was referring to it, but I would be delighted to come to this unique institution every year. And whenever I retire from the government, I would love to be associated with Symbiosis. All of you students, you represent the future of India. And as students, you will be responsible for taking forth the country's vision for a new India. The Prime Minister's clarion call for a new India, marking the celebration of 75 years since independence, is actually founded on three principles. Firstly, development must become a mass movement in which every Indian recognizes his or her role and also experiences the tangible benefits accruing to her in the form of better standards of living. The direct implication of such a development is that policy making must be rooted in Indian ground realities and emphasize the welfare of all in both design and implementation. Secondly, development strategy should help achieve balanced development across all regions, states, and across sectors. And this really implies embracing new technologies, fostering innovation and upskilling. We will have to focus on modernization of our agriculture and mainstreaming of regions such as the North, East, hilly states, and some of the most backward districts of India, whom we don't call them backward, we call them the aspirational districts of India. And the direct outcome of this will be improved regional and interpersonal equity. And what we need is an economy that is predominantly formal and fosters investment and innovation. Thirdly, development must focus on bridging the gap between the private and the public sector. I am a great believer in private sector. I believe that government must act as a facilitator and catalyst, and it's for the private sector really to deliver on bringing efficiency in the economy. And therefore, government's job is really to formalize the economy, expand the tax base, improve ease of doing business, really stop leakages through direct benefit transfers as we have done, and use technology to leapfrog as we are doing through the JAM Trinity. We are the only country in the world with 1 billion bank account, 1 billion mobile, and 1 billion biometric, which we are utilizing to bring efficiency and transparency and accountability in governance. And that, to my mind, this efficiency, transparency, and accountability in governance must be the USP of a new India. Under the aegis of NITI AAYOG, we had spelled out the strategy for New India, and we had identified over 40 critical areas for radical transformation. By the end of the decade, India will be home to the largest and one of the youngest populations in the world. To ensure that the goals of sustainable development are met and that India reaps the full potential of its demographic dividend, to my mind, very concerted action is required on several fronts. This must be guided by the core principle of what the PM has termed as Atmanirbharta, self-reliance. And I'm going to highlight some critical aspects that can catapult India's development journey. Firstly, my view is that we must leverage technology and drive a new digital India. Currently, as the world grapples with the COVID-19 pandemic, the remarkable resilience of India's tech industry has been on display, and our investments during the COVID period have actually soared to a mammoth 38 billion. No country in the world has been able to achieve this. As of 2019, we are home to the third largest startup ecosystem in the world. This opportunity did not go unnoticed, with private equity investments hitting a 10-year high in 2019, attracting 17.3 billion and registering a yearly growth of over 61%. Investor confidence in India has never been higher. India has in fact been able to turn the COVID-19 crisis into an opportunity by positioning itself as the preferred investment destination. The strong and sustained growth and innovation in the technology space actually presents us a unique opportunity for India to position itself as the tech garage of the world. We are ushering in the fourth industrial revolution and propelling our path to a new digital India. We are in NITI AAYOG spearheading this journey, which will enable India to leapfrog in the post-COVID era through the development of 7 technological solutions that will address themes ranging from financial inclusion to healthcare to telemedicine to a digital higher education university. And these products are currently in different stages of evolution. As models of public-private partnership, these platforms will leverage the best of both worlds. The Prime Minister had recently also launched the Atmanirbhar Bharat App Innovation Challenge to encourage the creation of world-class apps made in India. The response was overwhelming, and we'd seen some unique innovations by young startups. The Atal Innovation Mission, which is an integral part of NITI AAYOG, is driving Atal Tinkering Labs with artificial intelligence, robotics, 3D printing, which are today being taught from class 6 onwards. AIM also supports incubators and has catalyzed a creative and innovative culture. As the world's tech garage, our ability to develop technological solutions for a country as vast and diverse as India, actually, if we are able to find solutions for our challenges in education, in health, in agriculture, and if we are able to improve our learning outcomes, our health outcomes, we will actually not be finding a solution for 1.4 billion people of India, but we'll be presenting a roadmap for addressing the unique needs of the next 7.5 billion people of the world who will be moving from poverty to middle class in the next decade. And therefore, this is a unique opportunity for an aspirational new India. We also work, as I said, in the 112 of the most backward districts. These are some of the most remote, the most difficult districts crippled by interlinked challenges of low socio-economic progress. But we don't call them backward, we call them aspirational districts, in a unique initiative to unleash them from the shackles of underdevelopment through an exclusive focus on social development in sectors like health and education, nutrition, agriculture, rather than solely on traditional economic output indicators. Our belief is that if we can transform them in health, education, nutrition, we would be transforming this district. Not only have these districts been largely successful in battling the COVID-19 crisis, but they've been successful in showing tremendous progress on critical indicators over a short span of last 2 years, as evidenced by multiple Delta rankings. We rank them on their improvement month to month, with days to days, and there's a huge competition amongst these districts. Just to give you an example, Bijapur in Chhattisgarh has ramped up its public health system. 4 primary healthcare centers were set up. The number of specialists increased 17-fold. The doctors doubled, and now over 100 nurses are working. As a result, patients are now served 24/7. The average distance to access medical care is reduced by 30 kilometers, and the district has even recorded the highest incremental improvement in June 2020. Cost-effective innovation is widespread. West Singhbhum in Jharkhand created a phone booth sample collection center costing approximately rupees 15,000, and in Aurangabad, Corona warrior vans, each under rupees 10,000, function as mobile testing labs. These districts in the hinterland, commonly referred to as the soul of India, are progressively leveraging technology. Actually, Khandwa is using CCTV surveillance, drone photos, smart sheets, and route mapping of containment zones to prevent transmission. West Singhbhum has automated robotic devices to deliver food, water, and medicine to infected patients. Telemedicine centers are operational in Shekhpura and Jaisalmer. Bokaro has launched Saral, Safe Arrival and Accommodation of Labor, a technology-based system to facilitate the re-entry of locals stuck in other parts of the country. And therefore, even in the most backward regions of India, some of the officers have used technology to leapfrog. Catalyzing their development and augmenting evidence-based interventions, we launched a dashboard with cutting-edge technology providing real-time data. When I was a young collector, the data available to me was 10 years, 11 years old. I did not know whether my district was going up or coming down in various outcomes. But today, this Champions of Change dashboard gives you the latest data, real-time data, quality analytics, technology interventions in health, including artificial intelligence, machine learning, solutions for breast cancer screening, maps on alternative land use planning, and on soil and water conservation. It gives citizens feedback in a fully digitized system to track fund flow. It is a vastly different India from the time when I was a collector just 15 years back. And this is simply the leapfrogging of technology. In addition to being at the forefront of COVID-19 battle, the aspirational districts are also at the vanguard of India's digital revolution. Continuous monitoring and evaluation to make informed and evidence-based policies characteristic of a new India. With rankings and incentive mechanism built into several new initiatives, we do the health index where we rank states. We rank states in water management index, the school education quality index, the SDG index, among many others. States and districts are being guided through targeted action, and we are making them compete, and we are making them work on data so that they know whether they are going up or coming down, and this is leading to healthy competition. And therefore, my belief is that we must collect data, we must rank, we must make all states and all districts compete with each other. And that is the only way to transform India. I also believe that a new India has to be rich in human capital. A new India will only be possible with investments in human capital. We need many symbioses, and therefore we need to improve in education and health. We have launched the Ayushman Bharat, the largest health insurance scheme in the world, covering over 500 million people, an astounding 40% of the people in the country. The Prime Minister on Independence Day launched the Digital India Health Stack, when every Indian will have a health identity. And this will lead to access to better health care. A recent announcement that is of relevance to all of you and will transform the way education in the country is delivered is the National Education Policy, is the new Education Policy 2020. The announcement of this policy is nothing short of a historic moment. Not only does it come after a gap of 34 years, it also marks an unwavering commitment of the Government of India to education. In fact, the document iterated over the last few years is a radical change in the ideals of public policy, factoring in voices of every single stakeholder, from the experts to the teachers, right up to the common man, gauging insights from across 2.5 lakh gram panchayats in the country. Advocating forward-thinking and cogent reform, the new education policy actually is an amalgamation of need-based policy, cutting-edge research, and best practices laying the path of a new India. We have received several inputs from Symbiosis University, and Dr. Vaidya had actively participated in several discussions. This carefully crafted policy document is futuristic and curated to cater to the needs of the 21st century learner, with its focus on critical thinking, experiential learning, interactive classrooms, integrated pedagogy, and competency-based education. It balances autonomy and effectiveness, and the policy documents marks a distinct shift towards outcomes and delivery of quality education. We have in NITI AAYOG spearheaded several reforms. We undertake the sustainable action for transforming human capital in education in facilitating bold path-breaking interventions, including school consolidation, teacher recruitment, large-scale learning enhancement in 3 states of Madhya Pradesh, Jharkhand, and Orissa. The aspirational district program is facilitating a Jan Andolan. The extensive focus on universalizing access from early childhood to higher education, integrating a vast number of our students, and concerted efforts for socially economic advantage group will ensure last mile delivery. The policy marks a welcome departure from archaic practices and pedagogy. It dismantles the distinction between curricular, extracurricular, and co-curricular subjects in school, and the provision of multi-entry and exit options in higher education. It brings in the much needed fluidity and flexibility, which Symbiosis actually had been working on for a long time. And I give a lot of credit to Dr. Mazumdar and his team for actually having been a founder practitioner in this regard. The new policy keeps teachers at the fore, and teachers' education will be reimagined. The creation of academic credit bank, the impetus to research, graded autonomy, internationalization, again where Symbiosis has been at the forefront, and the development of education special economic zones are vital to rebranding India as a higher education destination. Finally, the new education policy marks an overhaul of the governance architecture from over-regulation and complex, diverse norms to a simplified and cogent structure. A single regulatory body for higher education and an outcome-focused accreditation will serve as a template which I hope will be implemented for minimal essential regulation and maximum effective governance in New India. And in universities like Symbiosis, I hope will grow and prosper in all regions of India. This new education policy will also leapfrog India's digital India story and significantly contribute to building our human capital and ensure that India becomes a true knowledge superpower. Even as the world continues to grapple with the COVID-19 pandemic, ladies and gentlemen, it's important to understand that technology is changing the world. As I mentioned that during this period, India has received a mammoth 38 billion in tech sector. A significant portion of these investments have gone into software as a service based companies, which witnessed a major growth brought about by increasing demand for digital tools and automation. If you look around the world, you will see that 8 of the world's 10 biggest companies actually have grown and expanded because they are tech companies. And therefore, tech will drive the future of the world. The fastest growing jobs on LinkedIn list of emerging jobs globally are artificial intelligence specialists, product designers, and data scientists. During the COVID period itself, 5 of the top companies, Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Facebook, and Google, actually have enhanced their market capitalization by over 1 trillion. So while some companies have lagged behind, these companies have grown and expanded. India is the youngest country in the world with a vibrant startup ecosystem. And therefore, India must convert this crisis into an opportunity by positioning itself as a great innovator, as a great transformer, and as a preferred investment destination. The strong and sustained growth and innovation in the technology space actually presents opportunities for India. And therefore, through the development of innovative and digital technology solutions, India can successfully find solutions to the massive and intractable challenges across sectors, all the challenges that we are confronted with. Challenges of healthcare, financial inclusion, modernization of agriculture, learning outcomes. And therefore, as John Keynes had said in 1926, the important thing for the government to do is not to do what individuals are doing already and to do them a little better, but to do things that are at present not being done at all. And therefore, government should not get into private sector. It should only act as a facilitator and catalyst. To rephrase Keynes, the government and the private sector should together do what has not yet been conceived, let alone done, devise solutions that cannot occur in silos and to execute it to perfection. India's IT and ITS industry is a global powerhouse, but we need to build a lot of, for the future, artificial intelligence will be the driver. And artificial intelligence will drive a lot of our growth. It will be the key driver. And therefore, we need to create a lot of artificial intelligence specialists product managers, data scientists, product designers. And therefore, if you look around India's IT industry, the 167 billion IT industry, mostly comprises companies that provide software services and back-end IT support. While there's a plethora of new age product startups in the consumer internet and enterprise space, the shortcoming lies in the absence of platform companies. India has a shortage of platform companies that can compete with global players. The templates for platform-based models do exist in India, which could serve as a blueprint for emergence of future platform companies. In fact, the National Health Stack and the AAYOG Stack and the UPI were all developed envisioning a cohesive future for a healthcare ecosystem in India. We've built a public layer of it where in both UPI and in Health Stack, the ground layer will be done by the government. But on top, if you look at the unified payment interface, which in just 4 years has reported 10 times the number of transactions as compared to a decade-old American Express. In my view, UPI as a global platform will surpass the number of transactions by both Visa and MasterCards in the next 2 to 3 years. But on top of the UPI layer, we have allowed private sector, Google Pay, Paytm, PhonePe, all of them to innovate and create a business model. And therefore, the government will create the basic layer in health stack, in agriculture stack, and on top of that, we'll allow private sector to innovate, grow, and prosper. Ladies and gentlemen, Silicon Valley faces a glass ceiling on innovation. It is the most innovative place in the world, but it has no challenges, and therefore it does innovations like driverless cars for the developed world. India's challenges are far more complex, and they provide an opportunity to use tech and innovate at a scale. India has data, humongous data, because of the use of mobiles and because of low data costs, which are 1/20th the cost of United States and 1/10 the cost of UK. And therefore, using data and artificial intelligence, we can actually do a massive, we can find technological solutions that will physically be very difficult, will take a long time. And therefore, the challenge is that we should use technology, create platforms, create unique products, which will enable India to find solutions and catalyze a creative and innovative culture. My belief is that development of world-class products and apps requires skillful application of artificial intelligence, and this necessitates 5 critical inputs. Firstly, flow of data, large-scale data, which India has. Secondly, hungry young entrepreneurs, which India has and which, to my mind, Symbiosis and other universities are producing. Thirdly, we need artificial intelligence algorithm engineers, big computing power, and AI enabling policy environment. While India has humongous data, it has computing power, we need top-class startup entrepreneurs, which India has, to my mind, but we lack in product managers, AI scientists, and product designers and software engineers. In addition to our triple IITs and IITs, Symbiosis and other universities must produce AI engineers and product designers who can partner tech entrepreneurs to launch cutting-edge global tech companies. And that will be the fundamental difference in making India innovative. The government also has a crucial role to play in positioning India as the tech garage of the world. We will act as a catalyst and bring together the synergies of the private sector with the aim of innovating for India and the world. Ladies and gentlemen, we believe that all of you are basically innovators to transform India. You are innovators because you will all tomorrow be transforming India. You are basically agents of change. And therefore, India as a tech garage also encapsulates the principles of Atmanirbhar Bharat. Not just confident, outward-looking and non-insular, but also one that develops indigenous technology solutions at a super scale for complex problems. Our ability to develop technological solutions for a country as vast and diverse as India gives us a huge opportunity to make a difference to the world. Ladies and gentlemen, it's been a great delight and a pleasure for me to interact with all of you and such bright and brilliant young students with an outstanding faculty. Very few Indians are fortunate to work in to study and get the benefit of great teachers and study in a great institution like Symbiosis. I've always believed that Symbiosis is an outstanding institution, and we in India, and particularly in NITI AAYOG, are all proud of the great institution Dr. Mazumdar has built. It's an institution which is multidisciplinary and which has the most outstanding faculty and the most outstanding infrastructure and the most committed teachers. And therefore, young students, you are all very fortunate to be in such a great institution. And therefore, this is a great opportunity for all of you to learn and benefit from this great institution to transform India and to make it one of the most innovative destinations in the world. This is a huge opportunity. The COVID-19 is a crisis. The pandemic is a crisis, but every crisis is an opportunity. And we must be full of optimism. 1928 was a crisis. It was turned into an opportunity by President Roosevelt. And the America grew and prospered for the next 5 decades because of that. They built up top-class infrastructure. Today's infrastructure will be tech infrastructure. And therefore, this is our opportunity to use technology to leapfrog. And that is what all of us in government, driven by the Prime Minister, are attempting to do, to use technology to make a massive jump. And all of you must take the lead in this. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a great pleasure for me.
Thank you, sir. It was high energy level, highly motivating speech. In fact, I wish all professors have this energy that you have while you deliver your session. The same energy levels. I wish all professors across all educational institutions have the same energy levels. It was a fabulous session. I enjoyed. I'm sure all my students also enjoyed the way I did. The kind of examples that you gave from your projects, be it focusing on the experience that you had and the lessons that you shared, or the data points that you gave, or the importance of AI and other aspects that you shared with us, was fabulous. For your information, sir, we have 37 constituents, we have 7 research centers, we have 9 support departments, 11 departments for skill and continuing education across 4 states and 6 cities. And we had a lot of questions from all of them, including our students and alumni. So the next session is about the Q&A that some students have asked. We had a lot of them. We had great trouble in selecting some of them. So we'll be spending about 10 minutes, if it is okay with you, picking some questions. We'll be going ahead with that session now, sir. So in fact, before I go with that, I would also like to inform you that we have our students working in NITI AAYOG. Devika Kannan from SSE, Symbiosis School of Economics, works at NITI AAYOG. There are some from SAHS, Symbiosis, who are also working at NITI AAYOG. just for your information. We'll go ahead with the question and answer session. We'll have students who will be coming and asking the questions live to you. We start with the first question, that is from Yash Kotecha. He is from Symbiosis Institute of Business Management, Pune. So Yash, you can come online and ask your question by unmuting yourself. Over to you, Yash.
Very good evening, sir. My question is, while being the CEO of premier policy think tank for the government of India, how do you manage to frame long-term as well as short-term planning when your target audience is the diverse community of India, majorly being in unorganized sector?
So yes, that's a very good question. So whenever we frame policies, we actually do very wide stakeholder consultation. And actually, as you would have seen in the new education policy, we consulted everybody, every educationist. We even consulted panchayats, we consulted students, we formed a committee. And then the committee report was subjected to a lot of debate and discussion. So a huge amount of actually a consultative process. In fact, we carry out a Jan Andolan before every policy is debated and discussed. And we also consult a lot of our informal stakeholders. During the COVID-19, I was heading the Empowered Group, and actually I consulted 92,000 civil society organizations and NGOs, and many of them provided food, etc. during the COVID-19 period. So policy making is about getting inputs. Policy making is about consulting the actual doers, and policy making is about consulting all stakeholders, which we do on a regular basis.
Thank you, sir. That was a great management lesson, I would say, about policy making and getting data from grassroots levels. The next question is from Dr. Rajiv Ervdekar, who is the Dean of Health Sciences. He has got a question for you, sir. Yeah, over to Dr. Rajiv.
Hi, good evening, sir. This is Dr. Rajiv. We keep on meeting when we come to Delhi. And as Raman has rightly said, our students, whether it's Akshat Mandloi from my very own institute, the SIHS, or Devika, we keep on interacting with Mr. Paul, Dr. Paul, and with Mr. Alok Kumarji about various healthcare initiatives. Am I audible?
Yes, you are.
Healthcare initiatives which the NITI AAYOG undertakes. I just had a question. In light of the COVID-19 situation, pandemic, which has exposed a fractured and a crumbling public healthcare infrastructure, is there any rethink on the priorities about healthcare services and healthcare launches? We all talk about accessibility, affordability, demographic dividend, but post-COVID-19, which has exposed this chink in the armor, so as to say, is there any rethink on the healthcare policies which the NITI AAYOG envisions or envisages? If there is a new educational policy, is there ever a thought of a new, if at all, a new health policy? Is there any change in the allocation of funds of the GDP from a dismal 0.91% to 3 to 4%, which the healthcare sector and activists in the healthcare sector have been constantly requesting for the last so many years?
So that's also an excellent question, and I must compliment you on this question because it's very, very important. On the health side, we've made some radical transformation, actually. The government of India has laid a huge focus. We've introduced Ayushman Bharat, which, as I mentioned, the PMJ component covers 500 million people as far as the insurance is concerned. But more important, I think, is the primary health care, where we are putting 150,000 primary health centers. We are making them health and wellness centers, and a lot of work has been done across primary health centers. We are also opening up the medical education sector. Actually, a lot of work has been done already, and we have increased the total number of seats for doctors, MBBS doctors, and we'll continue to open up more and more so that India has more doctors. More than that, we have now launched the Digital Health Mission, which will enable every individual to have a health ID. And this will be really transformational because you don't have to go and create new papers every time you go and meet a doctor. All your health records will be stored, and there'll be a continuum in health service. You can carry your health record from one part of the country to another, and therefore this will be a radical transformation. It'll be like carrying your Aadhaar from one place to another. But The government has provided additional allocation to health during the COVID-19 period, and the government will continue to provide more and more allocation. And I'm quite sure that government's commitment is to ensure that health and education and nutrition are really the centerpieces for building the building block for a new India. Thank you.
Great.
Thank you. Very, very reassuring.
Thank you, sir. The third question is from Mr. Aditya Hegde. He is from Symbiosis Statistical Institute. So here is a question from Aditya Hegde. Aditya, can you please unmute and ask your question, please?
Yes, sir. How does the NITI AAYOG accounts for risks and other uncertainties in policies with a multi-decade rollout period?
I could not hear you. Can you repeat it and be a little louder?
Aditya's question is, how does NITI AAYOG account for accounts for risks and other uncertainties in policies with a multi-decade rollout period that you have? That was his question, sir.
Yeah. So actually, what we are coming around to is the fact that actually policies now must be based on good data. They must be based on good consultations, stakeholder consultations, and policies must be based on involving states as partners, because we are a federal polity, and without the states it will be very difficult to deliver, because they are the cutting edge. And therefore we involve states, we involve collectors, and in an urban process we involve municipalities. But we have come around to believe that actually in many of these areas, you need real-time data. And if you get real-time data, as we are doing in aspirational district, you are putting out that data in public. You should constantly put it out in a transparent manner before the public, and every officer must know what is the outcome you are trying to achieve. And in that outcome, whether you are going up or you are going down, so you should be able to name and shame performance. You should be able to create a competitive spirit, and you should be able to constantly challenge people on achieving better. And that is what good policy and good implementation is all about. And that is what we are doing across, by putting this ranking across education, health. We are actually telling the states, you know, first time we did ease of doing business, Gujarat came #1. Next year, Andhra beat Gujarat. The third year, Telangana beat Gujarat. And actually this year, UP has come #2. UP was 20th or something. It has jumped up. It has jumped. It came 10th last year. And now it has jumped up to #2 position. But Gujarat has gone to #10. So every state is competing on a real-time basis, minute to minute. And if states are moving up, and this is the only way we can improve India.
Thank you, sir. That was an interesting statistics of states moving up from possibly 20th to top 10. Thank you. Thank you for that answer. The next question is coming from Dr. Nandita Kapoor. Yeah, it's Dr. Nandita Kapoor, who's a student at Symbiosis Institute of Health Sciences. Dr. Nandita, can you please unmute and ask your question, please? Nandita,
good evening, everyone.
Yeah.
Sir, yes. First of all, I would like to mention that it's a great pleasure getting this opportunity to interact with you, sir. So my question to you is, what are the planned government initiatives to boost Indian healthcare system post-COVID-19 to bring a sustained transformation at grassroots level?
So, Nandita, how have you become a doctor at such a young age?
Sir, I am a dentist by profession, and then I joined MBA in hospital and healthcare management.
And what are your
immediately
plans?
After completing my dentist course.
And what are your plans for the future? You will join a hospital or do private practice?
Sir, I have practiced and known the clinical aspect. Now I would like to move on to the systemic administrative approach.
Okay.
So my interest lies in that, and I would like to someday be at a position where I could bring a systemic transformation in India.
So
yeah.
why don't you write a paper for NITI AAYOG on how the world of this dental field will transform in the post-COVID-19 era. Why don't you do this work? Because I think this is an area which will go through major transformation because of physical distancing. Why don't you write a paper which we'll be very happy to host on our website and get it published for us?
Sure, sir. I would like to take this opportunity and would like to surely work on it.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I think my personal view is that in the post-COVID era, one of the challenges of COVID has been that health outcomes will get impacted. People suffer from, we have a huge impact on nutrition, and we've not been able to take care of our children or women who are anemic, etc. The people with TB, etc. There's a widespread case of tuberculosis in India, etc. And people who are suffering from various diseases, because the whole focus got shifted on COVID-19, these people have got impacted in a very big way. And therefore, we'll be actually in health outcomes and learning outcomes, education institutes are still closed. And therefore, the fear is that India should not go see a decline. We should not go backward. And therefore, we'll have to lay a lot of focus, a huge amount of focus in the post-COVID era to ensure that we are able to provide primary health care, we are able to look after our population, we are able to take care in nutrition, we are able to provide good care in rural areas so that our population is not adversely affected by health. And especially tertiary care, because a lot of people, tertiary care in India is very expensive, and 66 lakh families go below the poverty line because they are not able to take care of cancer, etc. And therefore, we need to take care of that. And that, to my mind, will be the biggest challenge in the post-COVID era.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. And thank you for giving this opportunity for Dr. Nandita Kurup for a paper to be written for NITI Aayog on this session. It's really great. Thank you. We have a special institute which focuses on operations management, Symbiosis Institute of Operations Management, located in Nasik. And there's a student who's Akshat Mathur. He has got a question and he is in this institution. Akshat, are you online? You can unmute and ask your question, Akshat.
Good evening, sir. It's an honor to interact with you. So my question is, in lines in making India Atmanirbhar, what type of policy implementations are being made to make domestic markets more competitive?
Yeah. So that's a good question. First of all, let me tell you that when you talk about domestic market, always think of the world. In India, we quite often think only of the domestic market. Whatever we manufacture, Indians must think of manufacturing for India and the world. What Make in India should be for India and the world. And therefore, because size and scale is very important. And therefore, we are pushing for production-linked incentive scheme in several sectors like mobile, electronic, pharmaceuticals. We used to import a lot of active pharmaceutical ingredients from China. All that we are trying to manufacture in India. Our objective will be to make India easy and simple and allow for greater competition and ensure that India becomes a manufacturing nation. And there is greater level of push towards manufacturing in the coming days with better infrastructure. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. If it is okay, can we take a couple of more questions? Is that okay?
I think let this be the last one.
Okay, sure. Yeah, this is the last one. It is from Gauri Vaidya from Symbiosis Institute of Geoinformatics. She's doing her MSc there. Gauri Vaidya, this is the last question. Can you come online and ask, please?
Thank you, sir. Good evening, sir. Sir, as you have stated that the development of world-class products requires a skillful application of AI, but India lacks AI scientists. So what initiatives, according to you, must be taken to produce good AI scientists in India?
No, very good question. And I think this is the most challenging part of India's growth story today, because we have a number of triple IITs. We have a number of computer sciences course in our IITs. And we have many other engineering colleges where we produce software engineers. My view is that we need to create platform engineers, and therefore, actually what we need is data scientists, we need AI engineers, and we need artificial intelligence architects, and we need product designers. And actually all these courses, all the courses that we do in IIITs, all of them must be reoriented towards artificial intelligence. This is the future, and that is what we should do. All academic institutions must start courses on data, on product management, on design, and all of you must become coders. All you young children must become coders who will actually do product development for India in future. That is really the future. India must create a mass movement of coding.
Thank you. That was hard hitting about coding and the requirement expectations from students. Dr. Vidya Madam, if you have any comments.
So actually, I've always interacted with you, sir, and given you a brief of what we've been doing. But just one sentence before Dr. Gupte gives the formal vote of thanks is that we do have a Symbiosis Center for Applied Artificial Intelligence, and we're focusing on AI. We have business, analytics as programs that we run, MBA in business analytics. We also have in data science. Only thing is, I think Symbiosis is a little, it's not very aggressive in its marketing, so not many people know about it, but our students are there in the market. The best part is that we are now contributing a lot to the healthcare sector, sir, through the Symbiosis Medical College for Women. And we've set up a 1,000-bedded hospital, which is the first nodal center in the private sector, the first nodal center for COVID. And as we are speaking, there are about 270 COVID patients being treated by over 200 doctors and healthcare professionals in our hospital. So we've created a wonderful health science technology park, where on one side of the road is the engineering college, the Symbiosis of Technology, and on the other side is the medical college and all health sciences institutions. And we hope that, our students actually come together at the, we've set up an innovation lab under the technology business incubator that the DST has given us and contributed even by funding it. So we've really created a wonderful ecosystem. My only request to you is, as and when this all opens up, please come and see what, these new experiments that we've done at Symbiosis. So thank you very much. And over to Dr.
It will be a pleasure and a delight, and I'd love to come to Symbiosis.
Yes.
Thank you, sir. Now for a formal vote of thanks by the Vice Chancellor, Dr. Rajini Gupte, Madam. Madam, over to you for a formal vote of thanks, ma'am.
Thank you, Dr. Raman. Respected Dr. S.B. Muzumdar, the Chancellor of the Symbiosis International University and the founder of Symbiosis, Dr. Vidya Eravdekar, the Pro-Chancellor of the University, our esteemed guest for the Golden Jubilee Lecture Series, Shri Amitabh Kant, CEO NITI Aayog, Dr. Bhama, Dr. Raman, all the deans, directors, faculty, and staff. Let me first express my deep sense of gratitude to Mr. Amitabh Kant for his splendid session on building a new India. In the ongoing pandemic, every one of us has been reading about the gloomy news about a 24% drop in the GDP. And we're also looking at the Fitch ratings or Goldman Sachs, which is talking about a prediction of 10 to 15% contraction in this GDP. Again, this background, Mr. Kant, you spoke about an India being the tech garage of the world. A very, very heartening expose which you spoke about. And I think everything that you said about was so positive. You spoke about how India, 75 years after independence, for the first time is now looking at development as a mass movement. You spoke about how policy making must be grounded, about removing regional imbalances. Atmanirbhar Bharat, we are reading a lot about that, and how Digital India has helped us in the current pandemic. How startups are being funded, how they are leveraging technology. About 38 billion has come into the country in this very short span. Technology, you said, will embrace everything we do, telemedicine, online education, and of course, AI will be the key driver. We can use it to address our challenges in a very cost-effective manner, to address the challenges that a country like India faces. Government, you said, will be a facilitator. The use of technology will be for transparency, ranking of districts, and the states something that we've been reading about in the newspapers. You brought life to it by talking about the experiments, about a dashboard, how states and districts will be able to see their performances online, and how this will foster competition amongst them. You spoke about government being a catalyst for technology entrepreneurs. Building a new India, a vibrant India, is a challenge for the coming years. And India's demographics, which are an envy of the world, need to be leveraged. And as you so rightly mentioned, we need to provide good health, quality education, and employment opportunities to all our young people. The new India should also have excellent human capital. You spoke eloquently about the new education policy, minimum regulation, and maximum autonomy, which was really music to our ears. Thank you, Mr. Kant, for so graciously spending time with our young students, answering their questions and motivating them. I learned from you that unless one plans and dreams big, the future cannot be shaped. Let me also thank Dr. Vidya for inviting Mr. Kant today. Thank you, ma'am. It was really a pleasure listening to him today. Thank you, Dr. Muzumdar sir, for spending time with all of us. Last but not the least, let me also thank Yash, Aditya, Dr. Rajiv, Dr. Nandita, Akshat Mathur, and Gauri for all those wonderful questions, which were so patiently answered by our guest today. Let me also thank the tech team. Let me thank all the directors, faculty, staff who are present here today. Thank you, Mr. Amitabh Kant. We look forward to having you on our campus very soon. And thank you very, very much. You've left behind
Thanks a lot. Thank
you. You left behind a wonderful, positive message.
Thank you, Dr. Mazumdar. Thank you, Dr. Vidya.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Yeah, we formally close this session now.